gadgets in On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and Live and Let Die. Bullet deflecting watches, expanding gas pellets, safecrackers, can you believe it? And we'll chat about some movie locations visited too. Join us as we welcome Vicky Hodges today as we're cracking the code of these two spy movies.
Hi, this is Tom Pizzato
And Dan Silvestri
of SpyMovieNavigator.com. Join us each episode of Cracking the Code of Spy Movies. And today we have with us a special co-host, Vicky Hodges from the UK.
Yeah.
We want to thank SpyCoffees.com for sponsoring part of our show. They have great coffee and you get a 20% discount when you use our secret code, SPYNAV, at checkout.
SPYNAV. Cool. Yeah, this is exciting. We've spoken to Vicky Hodges quite a bit through social media. She's an avid James Bond memorabilia collector and terrific and knowledgeable James Bond movie fan, as well as a fan of other spy movies. So we thought we'd bring Vicky in on our podcast show for some fun. So here we go. All right, so let's talk about On Her Majesty's Secret Service and some of the gadgets that were in that film. Now, there's some that are, not spectacular, not huge, but they're there. For instance, the Armalite AR-7 rifle that Bond uses in From Russia with Love really makes an appearance here in On Her Majesty's Secret Service when Bond, now George Lazenby, is scoping out Tracy on the beach when she's going to kill herself. Yeah. He uses the scope from that rifle kit. So I think that's kind of cool that they brought that back and made it another little gadget in On Her Majesty's Secret Service. And it's one of the first things we see.
Yeah. I think my favourite gadget, because there isn't many, there isn't many at all in that particular film. There's only about 5 or 6. It's quite cumbersome, quite big, but I actually like the safe-cracking device stroke photocopier.
Yes.
Now, I don't really understand why it is so big, because in You Only Live Twice, there was a small version that Bond used in that particular film, and now suddenly we've gone big again.
Yeah. Well, I think in that particular case, it was Xerox, for instance, they had their first desktop plain copier out in 1963. And so the copier part of this little gadget certainly is possible. So, that was the first one that Xerox had out, portable desktop plain copier. And so, that was 63. So, yeah, okay, the part here is believable. Why is it so big? That's a good question.
Scene.
It does.
I think they just needed it to be able to do something with the crane.
Yeah, but isn't it also part of the safe cracking mechanism?
Yes.
So who knows how big that has to be?
Well, it's just that Q's always talking about the miniaturizing everything. So, and then suddenly we've got this huge thing that gets craned in.
Yeah,
I think it's a great scene in a great film.
Yeah, I love this film too. This is one of my favorite Bond films, and I wish Lazenby would have done more.
Yeah. Top 5. I think it's number 5 in my top 5.
There you go. All right. I think it's definitely in my top 5. And I love the story. I love Diana Rigg in it. And I think George did a good job. He gets a lot of criticism for not being a great actor and anything. I think he did a great job. He brought that emotional dimension too.
Yeah. I couldn't have seen Sean going through the emotional turmoil at the end of the film.
Yeah.
I think George just played it just right.
Yeah, George did play it right. And Connery had a few moments when he looked remorseful, like when Quarrel got killed and when Jill Masterson's sister...
Tilly.
Yeah, when Tilly got killed, he looks... You see that 1 or 2 seconds on his face where he's like, that's, where he's sad. But, yeah, I think he would have had a hard time pulling this off in here. Now, you also have in On Her Majesty's Secret Service... Bond kind of making MacGyver-type gadgets in his room there when he's trying to get out at Piz Gloria, when he's trying to get out of his room, and it's, of course, electrified, and he can't open the door from the inside. He does that little gizmo he makes with like a letter opener or something, and then an eraser where he won't get electrocuted because he could hold the rubber part of the eraser and slide it up under the door to get in and out of there. So it's kind of like, okay, that's a fun little gadget, and... on the spot. So, all right. What else?
There's the lint, isn't there?
Yes.
In that, which is a strange. It's a strange gadget.
It is.
Oh, the lint, you said?
Links, yeah.
Yeah. Right. That's a little weird, but
Yeah.
but what the hell?
Yeah, we'll
Q-
go with it.
Q is very creative and really insightful in producing gadgets that Bond may need in that very caper he's on.
Yeah.
Which is
Happens to always give him exactly what he needs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's pretty damn good at that.
And you know, when Q passes these things over to him, that yes, he's going to need that later on in the film, and you're just waiting for him to use it.
Yeah. Yeah, there are
Situation
How's this going to play out?
Yeah, there are a few gadgets that Q makes that Bond he doesn't really use in the films and stuff. I know that there's a few here and there, but in this one, he's using. Q didn't make very many for this. I mean, you got the Minox miniature spy camera, which of course, hey, that was a real camera that was developed in 1937 by this guy Walter Zapp, and so hey, there you go. It wasn't a gadget. It was a real gadget. It was a real thing. So hey, it's okay.
Makes you wonder whether they might as well have used that though earlier on in the film instead of using the photocopier.
Yeah, because you got a miniature camera. Yeah, that's true. Because I thought maybe he was sending the documents. Well, no, he wasn't sending the documents. He was just shooting them through there to copy them. Yeah, a little camera would have been good. They had those around since 1937. I mean, what the hell? You didn't have the safe cracking gadget, so that's part of that whole gizmo, isn't it? So you don't know how much space that takes. That takes a lot of space at that time. That took a lot of space. Anyway, I think the biggest gadget in here is Blofeld's gift to the allergy graduates, the vanity kit. And which includes a long-range walkie-talkie. Some kind of device.
That just kind of was like, wow, how is he going to pull that off? How's that going to work?
Yeah. Deadly viruses and more. It was a nice Christmas gift. Although its description is really kind of high tech, the way he's talking about it and what it will do, there's really not much high tech looking about this kit when they open it. And would it work at the time? Probably not. But as we know, because we've done our research, things like this have happened in the real world. And there was an experiment. Well, the U.S. Army denies it, but they were screwing around with chemical stuff. Anyway, we talk about it in our Real World podcast as well. So they did this experiment at this Dugway Proving Grounds in Utah, one of our states, and some malfunctioning spraying nozzle caused a toxic chemical to be released. Whoa, sounds like Blofeld.
Yeah, really.
And over 30 miles away, 6,000 sheep were found dead. So Blofeld kind of wants to wipe out the animal and vegetation stuff in the world, right? So here in 1968, in the U.S., the Army, who denied any responsibility for this, actually did this accidentally. So, how far off is Blofeld with this? Could it be believable? I think it could be believable. What do you think?
Well, yeah. I think any of the gadgets that we've sort of seen over the years, they're all sort of either link or ahead of their time. Mm-hmm. I think particularly, not so much a gadget, but if we look at Tomorrow Never Dies, just in general, that film was ahead of its time. That film is relevant now.
Yes.
So I think that's what Bond brings in, a lot of things that are up and coming.
Yeah, I think they actually do a very good job at researching what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
And wrapping that up into a nice little package in their films. And they've always done this. They've always put things into their films that were happening in the real world. For instance, in Dr. No, when you see the nice portrait of the Duke of Wellington in Dr. No's lair. Hey, most people would look when Bond stops and takes a look at that. Most people would say, "Oh yeah, nice picture, yeah." But if you don't know what it is, that's what you'd say. But if you know it's the Duke of Wellington and that painting was stolen several years before from the National Gallery in London, and now you see it in Dr. No's lair, now you think, okay, that's kind of cool. So they do stuff like that, which is nice. And so hey, they can implement some of this stuff too in the movies. Again, moving in that direction. So anyway, any other comments on Her Majesty's Secret Service?
No, not from me.
Okay.
No.
All right, let's move on to another movie.
Yeah.
Say live and let die.
Live and
Let
Let
Die.
Die. 1973. Wow, that was a long time ago.
And a very different movie.
Yeah. Talk about how different this movie is and what's in there.
Well, this is Roger's first film. We've got Voodoo, which we hadn't seen previously, and all the tarot, and
Yeah.
you got this double character of Mr. Big stroke Kananga, you know, a lot of mystery. For me personally, I think Live and Let Die falls sort of in my mid-table. I like it.
Okay.
But that's where it fits in my list of Bond films. It's a mid-table Bond for me. But I think it's got some great gadgets. And my favourite is the Submariner watch.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's got so many different things. And I recently met Madeline Smith, who plays Miss Caruso.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
And she...
I've always wanted to talk to her. We got to get her on the show.
She's such... I've met her twice, actually.
Really? Yeah,
She
great.
had she hated the blue dress that she wore for that scene. Absolutely hated the design of it.
Okay.
And she spoke about how when Roger uses the watch to unzip the dress, she actually had a group of crew underneath her dress with a string pulling the zip down. And she said it was just chaotic.
Yeah,
Very good.
That'd be very uncomfortable.
Very good memories. So that I really like the story, and I really like the idea of the watch, because before that he got a digital watch, hadn't he? When you first see him.
Yeah,
and then,
right, and the digital watch.
Moneypenny brings him a repaired watch from Q.
Yeah, the digital watch at that time.
Yeah.
They were not that common. That was kind of brand new technology, so they weren't really affordable for regular people at that time. So Bond, here again, was ahead of his time in having a digital watch. But the Rolex watch, the Submariner, that's cool. And what it does, of course, it has the saw in there too, right?
Yes, yeah.
Which is kind of handy. You always want a saw in your watch just in case you get tied up or whatever. And the deflecting bullets part, that's a little hard to believe.
Yeah.
That a watch would have such a powerful magnet that it could deflect bullets. And so in reality, that's no. Okay, you can't believe that one. So I'm going to deflect my opinion to Tom on that.
I would, oh, jeez. I would agree with you, though.
Yeah, but it's a cool gadget. And of course, it comes in handy, certainly the saw part. That's pretty cool.
I was just going to say, linking in with the digital watch and not being affordable to sort of the average Joe, I think we see Bond in his apartment, and of course he's got that coffee espresso maker, which I'm sure not many people would have had that either, to be honest. And like M, is that all he can? Is that all he can do?
Yeah, I love that. I love that. We're doing a podcast now on the Ipcris file, and Michael Caine, he has a whole little process in the beginning of that film where he is making coffee with the grinder and coffee press and all that. So it's another little process with coffee. And I was thinking the same thing, that what Em said is like, is that all that does? I mean, I use a Keurig machine and boom, I get coffee in a minute. It's nice.
Yep.
Here we are talking about coffee again. Well, hey, check out Spy Coffees at spycoffees.com. We drink it every day. Veteran-owned small business using 100% Arabica beans. Ground, whole bean, and K-cups too. Shh! Get a 20% discount if you use our secret coupon code SPYNAV at checkout.
That's SPYNAV.
Right, so start your coffee caper right now. Spycoffees.com. SPYNAV. Okay, Vicki, back to the gadgets.
But it's interesting to see that Bond would have these gadgets, these up-to-date gadgets, just in his own surroundings as well.
Yeah, and because really in the books, in the novels, he didn't have that kind of money where he could have fancy stuff on his own. it was mostly, hey, I'm going to charge this to MI6 when he's out and doing stuff with beluga caviar and Don Perignon.
Expensive hotels.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. All right.
When he's on the company's dime.
Yeah. Yeah, we understand that. We worked for Microsoft,
Well, that actually reminds me of Quantum of Solace. Sorry to change films, but when Daniel Craig's Bond goes to the hotel that Strawberry Fields has booked him in, and he walks completely back out and then goes to this big fancy one. I just always find that quite amusing.
Yeah. It's a great moment in that film.
Won the lottery.
That's a great moment in that film. We have a 2-part podcast with Roberto Schaefer, who was the director of photography for that movie. That was great talking to him. We spent 2 hours with him. And
Yeah, he was so generous with his time. That was great.
He was great. And a lot of people have liked those podcasts as well. So that was a fun movie that often doesn't get enough credit, obviously, Quantum. So what about the coffin in the beginning of the movie? That's kind of a gadget where in New Orleans.
Yes.
Live and Let Die of the Coffin.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, it's really good opening to the film. It's different. You've got all this music, and you're not sure what's going to happen, and we haven't seen anything like it before, and then all of a sudden, then they're all dancing in the street, and it's it's very, very different to the previous film.
Yeah,
it's start of a new era for a new Bond.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite scenes in the film. I like that one because 3 agents disappear. Here's one of them. You're going to see it, and it's in New Orleans, and then this coffin comes over the guy who's on the street. Whose funeral is it? Yours. Bam. And now he's on the street. And so they lower it, and you think, wow, this is kind of some kind of magical device that's snatching him up and so on. And maybe they have a button where they could press it and they snatch him up. So in real life,
go ahead.
In real life, when they filmed it, the stuntman who was lying there had to grab handles on the inside of the coffin and lift himself into it. Hold himself there until they filmed it and walk away.
Yeah.
I just think, boy, what a great funeral to have. You get guys parading down with the somber music and then getting kind of fun with it.
Yeah.
I like that.
The funny thing about that scene to me is like, wow, did they get all of these people to conspire to kill this guy? I mean, because they do it and then they go on with the funeral. It's like, well, okay. It's hard to believe that, but you could find that pole in New Orleans. It's still there, where you could lean against the same pole he did. And the Filet of Soul place across the street, the building is still there. You could still, I think, see some of the arches and stuff like that there. So Tom and I, we like to visit
Yes.
movie locations.
Well, I do that in London because most of the locations are in London, aren't they? So I go on a movie tour twice last year. I did, of course, with everything going on. I'm going to have to do that this year.
Yes.
But yeah, to the various different locations, and particularly, which I think I showed before, the tobacco docks for The World Is Not Enough.
Oh yeah, see, that's cool. Yeah. Hey, if you have photos of those, that would be cool.
Yeah, I have got some photos, of
we could share those.
Subway Silver came out of in Skyfall.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all that, yeah. We do a walking tour, and then we meet some of the stars from the films of the evening.
Yeah, we met Caroline Munro like that at Duke's.
I've met Caroline Munro a while back.
She is a delight, isn't she?
Yeah.
She is
lady.
Such a great lady. All right, what about...
Dukes was such a great place, too.
I was going to say that one of my other favourite gadgets is the Felix lighter, which is...
Oh, yeah, what about that?
They just got to get that in there, haven't they? He's just left the fillet of soul, and then he's talking to Felix through a cigarette lighter, and he says a genuine Felix lighter illuminating. I just think they've just done that completely for the line. Yeah, I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The writers were having fun with that one, and I think it's great. I mean, in terms of a gadget, what the hell? It's a cigarette lighter looking thing, but it was cool that they did that. I like when they bring things like that into the films. Some people hate that. They leave it alone. I think it's fun when they do that kind of stuff, or bring back the DB5 or whatever.
Yeah.
Yes, no, I do. I like that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Now, what about the poison dart in the side view mirror of Whisper's car? To me, I looked at that and I thought, well, yeah, you could rig up a mirror to do that. But it requires that the driver in the other car you're shooting at has his window down. So I thought, wait. Of course, it's 1973. Maybe you don't have air conditioning. Okay, in your car. But I thought, oh, okay, it's a cool gadget, but God, the guy's got his window up. You're in trouble. You can't use it. So I don't think it would penetrate glass. You?
Yeah.
I would doubt that.
Yeah. And then, of course, lining it up so perfectly,
It was a great shot.
Yeah, very clever. Maybe there's a little electronic guidance system behind it. It's a Bond movie.
I think you have to suspend belief sometimes, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah, often, actually. And I think you
Just go with
should.
it.
You have a lot more fun when you do.
Well, that's the whole point, isn't it? It's about escapism. It's about coming away from what's going on in the real world. So, yeah, and immersing yourself in this,
It's an escape.
in this world of spies and
Yeah.
gadgets.
Yeah, it's an escape. So so here the concept of a poison dart. Obviously, that's easy. It's yeah, we can believe that. I mean, there are blowguns from eons ago that have been used that have poison darts and so on. So yeah, hunting
They
animals.
have
and stuff.
one in the coconut head as well, don't they?
Yes.
Coconut
Yes,
head?
they do.
that
Yes,
right?
yeah,
Yes.
right. That's a good point. They got their money's worth out of that device.
Yeah.
All right, what else is in there? They've got a couple other gadgets in this thing. You got the bug detector, I think Bond has in his shaving
In his
kit
room.
or
Yeah.
airbrush transmitter or something. Yeah, it's
Oh,
not.
yeah, that thing was really, I thought, pretty lame.
Yeah, it's not interesting today for sure.
Yeah.
No. I always like how Bond, when he goes in, when he's been introduced to a new hotel, he always goes round the room and checks behind paintings and
Yeah.
I always wait for that because that happened in a lot of the early films, particularly Sean's.
Yeah.
Right.
And then it sort of went off into Rogers, but you don't see it so much now, do you?
No, you don't.
Right,
And
no.
because they probably have built-in bug detectors in the lapels of their suits and stuff like that. So they it's
But
probably all.
I miss it that they don't do that because that to me is if you're a spy, it can't all be your gadgets. You got to be looking to see how the other side is working.
Yeah.
And when these guys do that
Yeah.
in there, I actually think it's a great realism piece to it that sometimes just goes away in the Bond films.
Go
I
ahead.
think is it Sean who puts the hair?
Yes.
Yes.
What film's that now?
Sean does
He
that.
puts
Yes.
the hair, doesn't he? The hair
Yeah.
to make sure nothing's disturbed, and he's.
Yeah.
That one always bewilders me when I watch that.
I like that. It's simple.
Yeah, it bewilders me.
It's simple and it works. Of course, if it fell off, well, okay, then
Yeah, well,
how much spit can you put on there, to hold it for a while? Anyway, but bug detectors, that was certainly a thing in the 70s. And actually today, you could buy devices like this yourself to find bugs in rooms and stuff like that. And I've seen some in the shape of a pen where you could just do that. So, yeah. Morse code hairbrush, well, that wasn't so high-tech.
Yeah.
Sending
Oh,
Morse,
yeah.
sending
That
Morse
device
code.
just, that was not my favorite Bond gadget
No,
ever.
I'm not keen.
No. And like you say, when they're looking behind paintings and stuff, I always thought, wait a minute, there's like 8 paintings on the wall there, and you look behind one. That's just how I think. All right, let's move on. What else we got here?
I suppose you've got the gas pellet for the big death of
Yeah.
Mr. Big Kananga, which watching that as a kid was like, whoa, this is like, but like now, I mean, it does look quite sort of, it's just quite funny now, really, in a way, but it's nostalgic to sort of remember it when you watched, when you used to watch when you were younger, really. Is that feasible? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think? Certainly you could have expanding gas pellets. I'm sure you could do that. And whether you could do it in a miniature thing like that, who knows? I don't know. But probably possible. Believable? Yeah, okay, yeah, we could probably say.
I think the results of it might not be believable, but the fact that you could have an expanding gas thing would be.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and how did he trigger the device after he swallowed it, that it made it explode? That always bothered me. I mean, when you fire it out of a gun and it hits something, you can say, okay, there you go. Like when he blew up the couch with Whisper on it. So that's kind of cool. Of course, we had to kind of look this up a little bit. And it was a unique device, even for a Bond film. But in real life, if you look up wasp gas injection knife, yeah, you stick the knife into something and
why
press the
didn't I think to put that search into Google?
For some reason, I did. You press a button and a CO2 gas is released inside whatever it is you stab. Boom! So, hey, it's not that far-fetched, right? And they have a great demo of that in PCMag.com review here where they do it in a watermelon. It's boom! So, okay, that's kind of cool. All right, what else we got in there? Well, we got the restraining chair, of course, when Bond is gets clamped into the chair. I guess that's a gadget of sort.
Yeah.
And
Do we class the tarot cards as a gadget for solitaire?
yes.
In a way.
I think so, yeah.
Without it really sort of doing anything, it's her gadget.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
That's how she controls things.
I thought that was good. That was a good little setup there with the cards and with the chair and so on. And I think when Kananga's questioning him and he gets locked in the chair, it's kind of a neat scene. And you could say, I could believe it a little bit. It's possible. But, why would you put your arms on the chair like that? Come on, you're a spy. You should know better than that. Oh. It's like whenever Tom and I were talking before, when anyone says, can I have a cigarette first? The answer should be no. I cannot. You might shoot a rocket-propelled grenade at me through a cigarette. Who knows? I'm not going to do it. All right.
I suppose another one would be, and I think a particularly underrated henchman is Teehee with his prosthetic
Yes.
arm, which he uses as a weapon. I really like that character. I think he's very underrated. I think there are some brilliant characters in that particular film.
Yeah, Teehee. I like Teehee, and I liked his prosthetic arm. Of course, that's real.
Yeah.
Even knights in medieval time had some rudimentary prosthetic limbs and stuff. So, yeah, okay, that's all believable. And I like the character. He was a good character. And I think in the book, Teehee dies as Bond escapes from that meeting. I think he shoots Teehee in the book, and Teehee dies. But I'm glad he didn't in the movie, because he's a good character.
Yeah, he's a good character.
I love him at the alligator farm. He's really good there when he's feeding the alligators. That's a great scene. Yeah, that's a great scene. And I guess that place is still around. Now, the guy who owned it, the alligator farm, which not really is a gadget, it was a real alligator farm. His name was Kananga. So there you go. Yeah. So they threw his name in there for the villain. That's kind of nice. The guy lives on. All right. So what else we got? We got a lot of other stuff in there. I think, like you mentioned, the coconut head shooting the darts. That's cool, and that's believable. I think you could say, yeah, sure, you can believe that.
Totally be able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The paraglider. That's easy to believe. If you saw the guy paragliding onto your island or whatever, you could certainly shoot him rather easily. But they didn't do that. So anyway, he got away with that. So that's pretty good. So I think that's good for the two films for now. And we had a nice discussion about it. And it was fun having Vicki co-host the show with us. We're going to have Vicki back on the show again. We love her enthusiasm for the spy movie genre, especially Bond. Thanks, Vicki. So tune in again to hear more from Vicki in future podcasts.
This has been Tom Pizzato
And Dan Silvestri.
and Vicky Hodges from SpyMovieNavigator.com. Please tell your friends about our show and, most importantly, subscribe to our Cracking the Code of Spy Movies through your favorite podcast app. We appreciate it. Tell us what country you're listening from via Twitter @SpyNavigator.